Hello and welcome to Beyond the Slipstream, the companion show to the Teen Bus, put out by Harperama Productions. I'm Matt. I'm here with my brother Justin, and we got all kinds of fun stuff to talk about on the show today, starting with some very sad news that I just heard of this morning when I woke up, and that is that beloved filmmaker, movie icon, Rob Reiner, the director of Spinal Tap, and his wife were murdered over the weekend. And it appears to have been perpetrated by their son, Nick Reiner, who had a history of drug addiction and homelessness. This is so terribly sad. I really, I can't believe that this has happened. Um, I have spoken about Spinal Tap and probably other Rob Reiner movies on this podcast before. Spinal Tap, one of the top five movies of my life, easily in terms of how many times I've watched it and everything. And I mean, an absolute beloved classic. I mean, Rob Reiner, yeah, I mean, this guy put out two cult classics, Spinal Tap and The Princess Bride. Those are both like stone cold cult classics that have fans who have watched them literally hundreds of times. He also basically created the template for the modern rom-com with When Harry Met Sally.
Hmm.
And he directed a bunch of other really good films along the way. This is just a huge loss. This guy was still actively working. They just put out the Spinal Tap sequel, which I have to shamedly admit I have not seen yet. I'm trying to work on a time that my wife and I can watch it together. It just dropped on HBO Max. Um, but he just directed that last year, and of course, as fans of the movie will know, he plays a part in the movie as well. He's the director of the mockumentary,
Hmm.
Marty DeBurgi. Um, and this guy had a long career in acting, but before he was even a director, I mean, just one of the greats of Hollywood in the past, half century or
Mm.
more.
And
Um,
and he was a champion of, you know,
Liberal causes.
yeah, of liberal causes. But I mean, at a time when it wasn't popular to have the opinions that he had, I mean, he was the juxtaposition to Archie Bunker, on All in the Family. I mean, he has been, a cultural touchstone for, multiple generations and decades.
Yeah,
And
definitely for liberal causes. I mean, he got two acting Emmys for the role of Meathead on that show All in the Family. Um, and yeah, I mean, he represented, modernity and the counterculture and he was set in direct opposition to Carol O'Connor's Archie Bunker, who was, just a hateful, racist, bigoted, blue collar asshole.
well, and you
Um,
and you can't and you can't discount. I mean, this is a guy that has multiple, things that have made it into the lexicon of all people. I mean, he didn't, one of his other films was A Few Good Men. I mean,
yeah,
you can't handle the truth. Like,
absolutely.
you know,
Misery, with Stand by Me.
oh, Stand by Me. That, I mean, you want to talk about also a cult classic. I mean, Stand by Me is amazing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
such a huge loss. I really
Yeah. It was crazy when I saw this kind of come across my feeds yesterday. I was just unbelievable.
so sad.
It is. It is.
Stabbed to death by his own son. My God, just unbelievable. I have spoken to Rob Reiner before. Do you know that?
No.
I've, one of the great stories from my restaurant days. Though this the story really came into its own years after it happened when I told it to another restaurant worker, and as it turned out, this guy that I met years after my story had an almost identical story to mine featuring a different celebrity. Um, but mine, in a nutshell, was I was working in DC at a nice restaurant, and we had a six top in the restaurant. It was not my table; it was somebody else's table. But Rob Reiner was one of the people on the six top, and the chef, of course, there's a celeb in the house. He's like sending out all this like special food to the table and stuff like that, little small plates and stuff. And, we're running them out there, six people for six plates, and just setting them all down, all fancy and everything. And as it happened, I was one of the people running the quail egg course to Rob Reiner's table. And I was, in fact, the person who ended up at Rob Reiner's side about to set the quail egg down. And I set the quail egg down. He looks up at me and he goes, "What the hell's that?" And I said, "It's a quail egg, sir." And he goes, "I don't think so." And I said, "No problem." I took it away. I went immediately over to my table. I said, "Folks, would you care to enjoy a quail's egg that was just refused by Rob Reiner?" They said, "Yes, we will."
Yeah, set that thing down.
But the way he said it, it was a sort of it was like a nice little taste of classic Rob Reiner. What the hell's that? Like, what the hell's that? Just kind of funny. So Rob Reiner, rest in peace. I'm really,
Absolutely,
I
man.
just think it's one of the saddest things ever. It's really it's just terrible, and it also says a lot about drug addiction and about homelessness and about nepo babies. I reckon
Yeah, it's
that's got to be part of the conversation as well. Um, you want to go with your first one? We can tag team it.
yeah, absolutely. So Dogma, all right, the Kevin Smith film, which is one of his only films that has essentially not been on anything digital since digital became the predominant medium for watching movies,
Right.
because it has been in this kind of like legal battle with the Weinstein Company, of course. That
Hmm.
evil son of a bitch. But it was kind of like a long term fuck you to Kevin Smith that and sorry, pardon my French there, but um that it kind of hung in limbo, and then finally about a year ago or so they were able to somebody was able to resecure the rights, and they put a package together and they took it out on tour and put it back in theaters and things like that. After a very long time. I mean, I want to say it's like 10 or 15 years since the thing has really been available. You can't even buy, like, you couldn't even buy it. Um, and it came out this week on digital, and it's one of my wife and I's favorite movies. And so we watched it and absolutely loved it, and it kind of made me kind of go like, man, like, it isn't my favorite Kevin Smith movie, but it is number two. And so I went through his movies and kind of did my own, like, how I ranked them. And you can either take umbrage or not with my current choices, but I'll kind of work my way from one and back. So my favorite by far is Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I think it is just almost a perfect movie. It's one of those movies that I've watched, I don't know, 30 times or something like that. And my wife loves it. We quote each other, lines from the movie. And so it holds a very special place in my heart. But there's like a million great cameos in it, from Carrie Fisher to Will Ferrell plays a big character in it. Judd Nelson's in it. Um, you know, just so many, and it's this kind of neat movie that runs through the view, what he calls the view askew universe of his movies, and so it gives you a little taste of a lot of different stuff. But definitely my favorite. And after that, I put Dogma in there. Dogma is just a very, very great film. Um, it's a great kind of skewer of Catholicism, especially, but just kind of how it isn't necessarily about the bureaucracy of the church as much as it is about having faith and spirituality. So it's a really neat
Perhaps
thing.
perhaps the dogma of the
The
church.
Dogma. um, then my third favorite one is Red State, which is his kind of like ode to the horror movie, or I wouldn't say it was necessarily horror, but like
Is this
horror
is this the one
suspense.
that's about a preacher?
Yes, and it's John Goodman's in it.
Yeah,
It's
I've seen this
very
one.
outside of his norm. Really, really good movie. And you know who's in that movie that I absolutely love is one of Tarantino's muses, who is God, I'm blanking on his name right now. I should have put it in the notes. But he played two roles in Kill Bill. He played the sheriff from the scene when they're like investigating the thing, and then he also played the pimp in the second movie, which both of those characters have amazing dialogue. But I really wish I could think of that guy's name right now. But he plays the preacher. It's unbelievable. Really good movie. After that, I have to go Clerks, the one that started it all. You know, great movie, black and white, low budget, everything that you want in an indie film. I mean, it is the indie film as far as I'm concerned. After that, Chasing Amy and Mallrats. And then I go Clerks 2, Clerks 3, Tusk, which is his very weird horror movie. And then Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, the movie he did with his daughter, Yoga Hosers. Both of those are with his daughter. And then the worst one being his only non-written Kevin Smith movie, which is Cop Out, which is just a god-awful movie that I have nothing good to say about.
Well, let me say that I love Kevin Smith. Actually, Kevin Smith is one of the very very early podcasts that I was like all in on. I used to listen. I know you and I think you turned me on to that podcast back in the day, if memory serves.
I've listened to a bunch of his.
Smodcast and the Smodcast and all that kind of stuff. And he is a guy who is an absolute like super fan of the movies, number one, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, of comics, of all that kind
Star
of stuff,
Wars,
of
everything.
storytelling, Star Wars, all that kind of stuff. He is just a super super smart guy. He is a fantastic director, um, and over the years, he is sort of like made appearances in my, podcast and media diet from time to time. Of course, I'm always happy to check out a movie from him. So love to see you leading off your stuff with him. I'll give you my top three. I could probably give you like my top three. And that would be uh, Clerks. Mine would go Clerks, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Um, Clerks, I'm old enough. I'm one of those guys that was just getting into movies and Clerks came out. So like I was on the Kevin Smith bandwagon from when he started his filmmaking career. Um, and that was a movie that was the VHS tape at 4913 44th Street was wearing thin on that one. Because we watched that thing 1,000 times. Absolutely loved it. And I did want to mention, um,
It has such great one-liners, dude. I
such
mean,
great ones.
such great one-liners in that movie.
Um, Chasing Amy has one of my absolute favorite lines from any Kevin Smith movie ever. It also has one of my least favorite performances of any actor in any movie ever. That's Joey Lauren Adams has got to be the most annoying person in the history of humanity in that movie. I cannot stand her. Oh my God. But there's a line in
He
there.
was obsessed with her. That's why she was there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was a line in there where like Ben Affleck and what's his name? Who's his buddy in there? The guy that's like
Oh,
in
it's Jason.
yeah, Jason.
What can I think
Yeah,
of his
that
name?
guy.
Yeah.
Um, he they're getting ready to go someplace and they're like packing and the Jason guy he like shows what he's got packed for the trip to Ben Affleck and he's got like a bunch of porno mags in there and Affleck is just like what in the world? We're going on an overnight trip. What in the world do you need all this for? And he's like, he just rattles off this line about like, I never know. I'm a man of many tastes, and I never know what I'm going to be in the mood for. He's like, sometimes I'm going to want some girl action. Sometimes I want, straight blah blah blah. He goes, and sometimes, and I'm not saying always, but sometimes I like the idea of a woman with a horse. That's what he says. It's like,
Jason Lee, by the
yeah,
way.
Jason Lee, exactly. And it's like that line is just so great. It's just operating on like three different levels. It cracks me up. And sometimes I'm not saying always, but sometimes I like the idea of a woman with a horse. Like so good.
Well,
Uh,
and I would say that Kevin Smith gives probably his best performance in any of his movies in that one when he gives the monologue at the end of the movie where he
Yeah,
like he finally talks, you know what I mean? Because obviously he's Silent
yeah,
Bob, he
he's
doesn't really
Silent
talk,
Bob, right?
and he gives an unbelievable monologue that is instantly recognizable and full of heart and just
I have to say too that it's interesting of all the characters to create for himself, he creates Silent Bob when this is a guy that loves to talk. This is a man who has spent his entire adult creative life talking, and yet his iconic character is Silent Bob. There's just a poetic
mm-hmm.
genius to
Well,
that move.
and he is a guy that can recognize talent in a way that is very different from a lot of people. And you know a lot of the people that he keeps around himself really long term are people that he kind of discovered. Jason Mewes, obviously the J to his Silent Bob,
Mhm.
is who has had a tumultuous up and down life of himself with drug addiction and things like that.
Yep.
But you know it's he is like what they were able to create with those two characters and how they've permeated you know most of his movie making, and how he's able to interweave those two characters, and they essentially stay unchanged. Like it's there's something timeless about the two of them, that it doesn't matter if it's in the 90s in Clerks, if it's in the 2025s in Jay and Silent, or in 2020, in the 2020s with Jay and Silent Bob reboot, or Clerks 3. It's like you don't get tired of seeing these two guys interact with each other. Like even though it's his, the portrayal is typically juvenile as hell, it's really really fun, and it takes you back in the best way of nostalgia. I don't know, like I love Kevin Smith, man.
For sure, for sure. We salute you, Kevin
Absolutely.
Smith. Um,
Don't miss the Team Bus, our weekly podcast about pro cycling, and oh, did I mention pro cycling? We're kind of obsessed. Dropping into your usual podcast feeds every Wednesday.
I've got some movie talk that I want to get into. I'm actually gonna save that. I'll do my movie stuff later. I'm gonna have a couple of links in there for two videos that I saw that I'll just mention briefly. One, it was called Donkey Kong Atari 2600 versus ColecoVision. If you are a Gen X guy like myself, who grew up on these two very specific video gaming systems, the Atari 2600, the iconic 80s gaming system, and then the really cool one that came out a few years later, ColecoVision, that by some miracle our parents decided to get us, and we
I
suddenly became
remember
the coolest kids on the block with the ColecoVision because the graphics were just like so much better than the Atari, and they also
it had that
had a
that
bunch of
crazy
arcade games.
paddle with the numbers and the joystick.
Yeah, the joystick, but it was also like a dial. Yeah. So, but this video just compares the graphics of the Atari 2600 versus the ColecoVision, and boy, did it just have me back in my
All
nostalgia
right,
feels big time.
I'm
So it's just,
definitely gonna watch that.
yeah, it's a fun watch. You'll love it if you ever played those games.
Do you
The second,
do
go ahead.
you hold on real quick just on that note? Do you know that they are remake, like not remaking, but they have jump started production again on the Commodore 64 in the original factory, like where they originally made them, and they've started making new. You can go out and buy Commodore 64s.
I smell a broom wagon.
you
That
should
sound that
definitely you
sounds
should definitely
amazing.
look into
I
that.
am ready to look into that big time. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Um, well, super fun video. The other one, real quick. As listeners to this show know, we're fans of lots of different kinds of sporting stuff, and I love watching soccer highlights. And I caught a terrific one, guy that I uh, was hitherto just completely unaware of, and that is the man's name is Roberto Carlos. This guy's a legendary Brazilian footballer, and I found a video that's like his 10 most beautiful goals. Um, And boy, is it a fun video to watch. This guy was incredible. He was a defense player, and considering he made his career as a defender, the goals that this dude got were just stunning. He had this insanely powerful left foot. There's one in there where he's doing like a free kick and just comes running from like 20 yards back. I mean, he's just barreling at this ball like a freight train, and this thing flies so quickly through the like past the hands of the goalie. I mean, it's just incredible. So check out that video if you like watching good soccer highlights. I didn't even know anything about this guy. I guess he was around like in the 90s, 2000s or something like that. But real powerhouse. Great video. As Robert Carlos.
Speaking of really cool videos, I put a link in there to this Red Bull, because of course I feel like we've mentioned Red Bull every other episode at this point now. Their marketing team is absolutely the best, but they put out a video this week of the Red Bull cycling team, or the Red Bull Bordeaux-Hansgrohe cycling team, not any of your big stars, but you know, the B guys doing a
I think there was two guys that were kind of notable.
I think
there.
I think Lipowitz was in there, but I they didn't have anybody's name, but I'm pretty sure the Lipowitz was in there. But anyway, the Red Bull like sports team had the cycling team tow one of their like glider planes on a runway and use the riders to launch the glider in the air. It's an extremely fascinating video, how they kind of go through the practice and the attempts at it, and then the final attempt to get it up in the air and fully like fly. It's like maybe like 10 or 15 minutes. It's so much fun to watch.
I totally just skipped through it until the end when they actually. By the way, the guys that were pulling that plane were Florian Lipowitz, Nico Denz, Jordi Meus, Tim Van Dyke, Lawrence Pithy, and then Adrian Boishy, Davide Donati, Gilles Schoenveld, and Callum Thornley.
Yeah,
so
I thought I recognized Lipowitz for sure.
Lipowitz, Denz, Pithy, and Meus, Van Dyke. So, yeah, fun video. We'll definitely put that link in there. It's cool. You know,
it's
cool.
quirky, but it's just fun.
Just leave it to Red Bull.
I thought
no stunt too large or too small with Red Bull. They are game.
But and what I found interesting in the first part of it was like when they were doing the attempts and like the rig that they had all the bikes together, like bunched together on. Like when they would release the plane or the rope from the plane, it would smash the shit out of the tires.
Right. Yeah. It was almost like the same. It was like essentially the same apparatus that you would see like if you had like a team of horses like yoked up to pull a sleigh or something like that. 100%. It's like the horizontal stabilization bars and the chains hanging. It was kind of wild in that regard. It was almost like they were like, you know, the dogs on a dog sled or something. These guys really, just like they're really just like pure engines. But yeah, that was neat. Yeah, glad you had that one in there. You want to do another one?
Yeah, I wanted to shout out one of my friends. I talked last week about we did this video game challenge, but my friend Iverson, that's what he goes by. He posted his first video like of video game content on Instagram this week. Or last week, and over the course of the last, 5-10 days, it's amassed over 750,000 views.
What do you think attests to its popularity?
I think it's very simple, it's very short, and it speaks to the emotionality of what we accomplished, because it's very much just the reaction of us when we completed the challenge, and he just put in that quick reaction of, you know, us kind of like freaking out. And I think once it gets in the algorithm, it just goes like it takes on a life of its own at some point. I made a comment on the video that has gotten more likes than the most views I've ever had on anything. My video of the kind of the same moment, it will very shortly end up being my most viewed video. But in comparison, I'm just over 10,000 views. So he's 70 times my amount of views.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think my YouTube channel's close to 1 million, like for the whole channel for its whole life. the I wanted to, that just made me think of something. I very rarely will I post on Reddit. I'll occasionally I'll respond, and once a week I'll put a like on something, a thumbs up or whatever. But I actually got the most comments to anything I've ever put on Reddit recently when I was in a parenting thread, and the title of the thread was like, "My 4 year old caught me moving the elf," like the elf on the shelf. And I hate the elf on the shelf. I have always hated it. And I responded to one of these posts in there. I was just like, say no to the tyranny of the elf, worst Christmas trend of the past 20 years. Um, and I got a whole lot of likes on that one. One person responded and they were like, one person responded simply, and they simply said, "You're an angry elf." And then someone else was like, "South Pole elf."
That's a great comment. Um, I'll throw out two other things real quick, and then a third that I think you'll. I hope you maybe caught, but maybe you didn't. Um, Watched two movies this week. I finally got to see F1, which I really really liked. I really
Fun film.
enjoyed that.
Agree. I definitely enjoyed it.
Really really well done in so many ways. I also caught up with The Founder. Did you ever watch The Founder?
I think so. With Michael Keaton.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's about how it's essentially the Ray Kroc story and what a
Yeah. Yeah. He was
complete
just like a
piece of
sales
shit
guy.
that guy was.
Yeah. No, I've seen that. It's a good movie.
So I watched those two, and then the last thing, and then I'll let you. We'll kind of go into your stuff. Is did you catch the videos of Smith and Watt? Did you catch this at all?
No.
Okay, so some company threw a Christmas party. I can't remember the name of the company. But they got a bunch of A-list musicians to come in and play their thing, and videos have been popping up all over the internet. Um, so Smith refers to Chad Smith, and I have no idea who this guy Watt is, but they had listen to the guys they had. They had Eddie Vedder, they had Bruno Mars, they had Youngblood, they had Anthony Kiedis, they had Slash, Duff McKagan. So basically, Slash, Smith, Watt, and McKagan are the house band, and then they brought out all of these other guys to do like 2, 3, 4 songs a piece. Almost all covers. Nobody really did their own stuff. Bruno Mars did two that I thought were just absolutely amazing. One of them was "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and then I think the one that I put here is which one was? Oh no! You know what I put in was a bunch of them. I put in this one is like you can kind of scroll through, but this is the coolest thing. If this is your Christmas party, you have the coolest job ever, because this is the coolest Christmas party I've ever seen in my entire life. You've got Anthony Kiedis doing, Ace of Spades, and you've got, Youngblood, who looks like a young Mick Jagger doing, the Rolling Stones. It's unbelievable.
I'm
Like,
looking through like some of the comments here. Bruno Mars singing Roxanne.
yes, he did Roxanne.
What
He
did
did a
Eddie
bunch of
Vedder sing?
He did a bunch of his own songs. Sorry,
Oh,
I will say that they were mostly covers. They did, he did. I'm trying to think. They did. What's the one that's like, "The waiting drove me mad"? I love that song. Um, they did it. There was
wow.
so much of it.
Look. I just found one of the comments has got the whole thing. So this was December 11th at Garcia's at the Capitol Theater in Port Chester, New York. Here's your set list. "Start Me Up," the Rolling Stones cover with Youngblood. "Stay With Me," Faces cover, Youngblood. War Pigs, Sabbath cover, Youngblood. "Black Dog," Brandy Carlisle
Oh
covering
yeah, Brandy
Black
Carlisle
Dog,
was there too.
covering the story. Um, Tie Your Mother Down, Brandy Carlisle. That's a Queen cover. Motorhead's Ace of Spades with Anthony Kiedis.
Yes, and he
Uh,
literally has like the Lemmy hat on in the whole thing. It was
oh man,
badass.
Search and Destroy, which is the Iggy and the Stooges cover with Anthony Kiedis. Nervous Breakdown, which is Black Flag, Anthony Kiedis, and he also did a Sly and the Family Stone cover. And he did Whipping Post by the Allman Brothers. Eddie Vedder did Corduroy, Better Man, Wish List, and Waiting on a Friend, the Rolling Stones cover. And Sonic Reducer, a Dead Boys. Man, amazing. All right, I'm digging deeply into that. Let's move on.
Yeah, it look for this stuff. I would hope that, I mean, mostly what I've seen is clips. Man, it would be so great if they put something out for this. But I mean, some billionaire hired all these rock stars to come in, and he doesn't. Nobody cares whether or not this thing makes the internet. Like this was
Mhm.
its own little microcosm. But man, like,
That's dope.
talk about cool. All right, jump into whatever you would like from here
All
on
right,
out.
some movie talk for you. First, I just want to mention some stuff that I've seen this week that was all worth watching. I saw the Clooney picture, Jay Kelly. That's a new Noah Baumbach movie. It's on Netflix. It's good. It's not great. A really great pairing of films about what I would call what one of my podcasts has referred to as moms going through it, and that's Die My Love with Jennifer Lawrence and If I Had Legs I'd Kick You with Rose Byrne. Both moms going through it movies, both very well executed. I think If I Had Legs was a little the better film, maybe. I don't know, hard to say. I also saw the new Knives Out, Ryan Johnson um, movie. It's called Wake Up Dead Man. Of course, it's got the incredible Daniel Craig playing the iconic Benoit Blanc
Yeah, I
detective
want to see
character.
this.
You know what? I'm here for this franchise. If
Hmm.
as long as Ryan Johnson keeps pumping these things out every couple of years, I'll watch every single one of them. They're always good. And I saw if you're into the Rocky Horror Picture Show, there's a new documentary called Strange Journey. It's just a doc about the history of that show. Really cool. Now, two things I really want to point out though. Number one, there's a new documentary out that all of my critics love. It is called Predators. It is
Almost watch this.
it is about the TV show To Catch a Predator. I will link to the trailer as well as a review from Variety magazine by a writer named Guy Lodge. This is a fascinating movie and as thought-provoking a film as you'll find all year. I cannot recommend it enough. It's wild. It's really wild. You must see this. And speaking of things that I cannot recommend enough, I saw Sarah Sherman's new stand-up special. She is one of the cast members of Saturday Night Live. It's called Sarah Squirm Live and in the Flesh, and it is absolutely freaking incredible. I screamed with laughter the entire time of this thing. Now, if you do not like body humor, gross out humor, peeing, pooping, genitalia, buttholes, boobs, nipples, all that kind of stuff, like you're not gonna like this thing. Okay. But if you're okay with that kind of content, this thing is completely hysterical. It starts off with like a little cameo from John Waters and like this like intro bit. There is some amazing like claymation animation work in this of like really gross like bodies being ripped apart and put back together, and it's just absolutely wild. Watch the trailer. That'll give you a good idea of kind of what you're in for, which I will link to. This woman is an absolute talent. She's totally unique. She is doing her own thing. She's in her own lane, but she at the same time she is really pulling. She's operating in some like classic comic tropes that are just incredible. Physical comedy, prop comedy. She is a master at the like prolonged uncomfortable bit, and she'll start doing something and she knows just the exact moment to drop the punchline so that you're not just like you're like 10 more seconds of that and I would have shot the television, but like she nails it every time. um she's really good at like iterating on a joke. For example, like at one point she's like describing like I want to say like what her panties are like after she gets back from the gym, and she just rattles off like 10 jokes in a row of like, I mean, these things are like blah 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 blah. I mean, they are like da 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 da, and everyone is just getting more and more disgusting. And she's leaning so hard into trying to be disgusting that it just becomes so funny. It is a hilarious special. I strongly recommend it.
And what's it
And
on?
it's on Max.
Okay,
It's
I'm
called
in.
Sarah Squirm Live and in the Flesh. It's the woman is a huge talent. Um, So big recommendation there. Do you have any more? I got one
No, no,
more,
no.
but I
You're
want to
good.
save it
You
till
you
the
go
end.
on. I said every. I got all mine in.
All right. Well, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my lovely wife, Mandy, who uh, in her infinite wisdom, decided to buy concert tickets for us in Philly last night to see her 2025 obsession, which is the artist MGK, formerly Machine Gun Kelly. He now basically goes by MGK. I really didn't know anything about this guy, to be perfectly honest with you, before my wife started getting into him. He's a Detroit guy. He's like a like a kind of a white rapper that's like sort of crossed over into more sort of mainstreamy rock,
So
rock, punk rock.
he is a Detroit rapper. He had a beef with Eminem where just Eminem just completely annihilated him. Just shocker. Um, after did you see The Dirt on Netflix? The
No.
Motley Crue movie.
No, that's one I've so desperately been wanting to catch up
You
with,
need
and
to
I just
catch up
haven't
with
made
that.
the
But
time.
he does a really good job. He played Tommy Lee in that,
Really?
and yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. So there's your in. You can get your wife to watch it. I'm sure.
Oh, hell yeah.
Um, it's very very good, and I think as a result of the work he did on that, it kind of put him into this like rock, mode, and so he has become like the pop punk prince
Yeah,
of the current regime in
yeah.
that
And
genre.
it's funny you mentioned that too, because I literally said to Mandy on the way home, we were talking about the show. I was like, I bet you that guy'd be a good actor, and there you go. He's in. So I'm gonna definitely watch that. It puts on a great show. It was a super fun show. He's got personality. He's making jokes. He's really engaging with the audience. He brings people up on stage at one point. He's got a beautiful song about his daughter that's played over a huge video montage of him and his kid, and just seems like a good guy. I know he's a sober guy. He had drug problems when he was younger, and now he's not sober from cigarettes. The man smokes a lot of cigarettes, but he's actually got a giant like microphone stand in the shape of a cigarette. But a really fun show, and I have to say, like, I give myself some props here too. Like, we pulled this thing off perfectly. So I booked a parking spot through Spot Hero.
Love that
Um,
app.
I booked the 4:30 reservation at a beautiful little restaurant called Enswell, Enswell. I'll link to all this stuff in the show notes. Um, I thought it was a French bistro, though their menu was much more Italian, but it had French vibes and a great cocktail list. And all we had to do was walk 1.5 blocks from where we parked the car to get to the restaurant, because it was about 20 degrees in Philly yesterday, but it was a super short walk. We were actually there kind of early, so we were just like looking for some place that was on the way, which doesn't give you a lot of choices since it's only 2 blocks. But found this bar called Monks, like Monks in Seinfeld. This was a bar. It was a Belgian bar. It was an incredible bar. Amazing beer list. We wanted to stay there and eat food too. It looked so good. It had so much charm and personality, and we just stumbled in there by dumb luck. Then we went to Enswell, got some beautiful cocktails and some delicious food. Um, After that, while we were at Enswell, I get a text, or no, when we were on our way up there, I get a text saying that my second reservation, which was for what a lot of people on Reddit say is like the best cocktail bar in all of Philadelphia, right on Rittenhouse Square. It's the something or other Franklin Mortgage or something like that. They shut down for the night due to the weather. I don't know what was going on with them. So I was like, okay, well, before the guy, like I hung up with the guy telling us that they weren't going to be able to serve us that night. I was like, give me some recommendations, man, something near there. And he's like, oh, and he names two places, both of which I kind of looked at. And we ended up going to one of them. It's called A Bar, like A period bar, BAR. And it was great. Couple of beautiful cocktails in there, really cool vibes in there. Um, and that was like half a block from where we were planning on going. So from Enswell to that place, it was like a 2 block. Or no, I think we got a car to that one just because it was so cold. And that was like our longest distance that we had to cover, but it was like a $5 Uber. And then from there, we were able to walk to the public transportation, the SEPTA system in Philly for the subway. Jumped on the subway, went down to the Xfinity Arena, which is like way down at the south end of the city. Quick shot down the subway, went to the show, back on the subway, back up, block and a half walk to the back to the car, home free. I mean, it like could not have worked out more perfectly. It was a super fun night. And yeah, MGK, I'm here for you, brother.
Sounds like
Thanks for a
fun.
great show. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. So go see Philly. Philly's a wonderful town. All right, well, we're going to leave it there. Thanks for joining us again for another ride beyond the Slipstream. For my brother Justin, I'm Matt Harper, and we hope you'll join us again sometime soon. Ale.
Ale.
Beyond the Slipstream is a companion to the Team Bus and is produced by Harperama. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please like, subscribe, leave a review, and tell your friends about us. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. Ale!